Hello everyone, I'm Chloe Johnson and welcome to this Fresh Business Thinking webinar series, Lockdown Learning for Businesses, supported by BT. BT Skills for Tomorrow aims to empower businesses and their employees with the digital skills to help grow their business. The Skills for Tomorrow website includes free learning content that businesses and their employees can access at any time, on topics such as promoting your business with online advertising, making sure your customers can find you online, and much more. To find out more, you can click on the link in the comments. Coronavirus is continuing to be a challenge for small businesses and entrepreneurs across the UK. The outbreak leaves an overwhelming uncertainty into the future for business owners, but this is a time when as a business community we need to come together and support one another. And we're lucky enough to work with organisations and individuals who are passionate about supporting entrepreneurs during this difficult time. One of those is our speaker today, Phil Allingham. Phil formed Business Advice Services as a consultancy to help small and medium-sized businesses with any issues they had and help them to grow. Over the past 10 years, Business Advice Services has become an expert at negotiating with HMRC on behalf of businesses. Today, Phil will run through the differences in which HMRC are helping businesses through this pandemic and will help you plan how to get your business ready for when things start getting back to normal. Phil will be talking for around 30 minutes and then we'll have some time for a Q&A. If you do have any questions, you can leave them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen and we'll do our best to get to them later on in the session. That's all from me for now and I'll pass over to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Chloe, and good afternoon to everybody. So I like to keep things as simple and to the point as possible, so hopefully won't take up too much of your time. As Chloe says, probably about half an hour or so, and I hope you'll find the information that we're going to share useful. So just a bit of background at Business Advice Services. We've been negotiating with HMRC on behalf of businesses for over 12 years now. We specialise solely in dealing with HMRC on behalf of businesses, and we've got a lot of good senior contacts in HMRC, so we get some good information from them. But before I explain about the HMRC side of things, I thought it would be beneficial if I firstly touched on some of the other areas of help and support that the government are providing for businesses in the UK due to the coronavirus. So at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you some details of a brilliant government webpage where you go on and answer 9 very simple questions about your business. And from the answers that you give, it will then let you know what help you're entitled to and how to get it. And as Chloe also said, we're going to have a question and answer session at the end if anybody's got any particular questions or points that they want to raise. So the 6 main areas of help from the government that they've introduced because of COVID-19, and I'm sure you, like me, feel like it's been going on forever. Now it's actually only a couple of months. But anyway, the 6 areas are the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, or Furlough, a word that I'm sure most of us have never heard of until a couple of months ago. It actually means to grant a leave of absence. That's what furlough means. Another area that they're helping with is the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, Statutory Sick Pay for small and medium companies, business rates help, the loans, the CBILS and Bounce Back loans, and then the HMRC help with the tax payments. So first of all, I'll touch on the furlough scheme. Now, this obviously, most businesses, I'm pretty sure, are well aware of this and have probably already put the claims in, but I think it's slightly changed or been extended and added to over the last a few weeks or so. So it's probably just worthwhile just skip going through it and skipping over. So a company's allowed to claim for 80% of an employee's wages up to £2,500 a month. Plus, on top of that, they can claim the employer national insurance and pension contributions if you've had to put any of your staff onto furlough. You can claim for furlough employees that were employed on or before the 19th of March and that were on the pay-as-you-earn payroll at that point. It was initially put in place starting from the 1st of March. It was for to run to the end of June. They've extended it till the end of July now. Then they've also said from August they've extended it for a further 3 months from August through to October. They've not yet finalised or issued the details of that 3-month extension. Our understanding from people that we're talking to is that you'll be able to, companies from August will be able to bring back staff on a part-time basis and get a certain government. So probably something along the lines of the government will pay 50 or 60%, and then the company has to top it up to the other 80%. That information will be coming at the end of May. So, like I said, I think most of you probably already put your claims in for the furlough scheme, but if you haven't, or you haven't furloughed staff, but now you need to do, then you can put a claim in at any point. For self-employed people, they brought out the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, which is pretty much similar to the furlough scheme for employees, but this is for self-employed people. So what they've done here is similar amount of money, £2,500 per month, capped at 80% of the self-employed person's average monthly profits, paid out in one lump sum. Those started to get paid out on Tuesday this week. So if you're self-employed and you put a claim in last week, or I think they started Wednesday last week, you put a claim in, they sort of started getting paid out on Tuesday. So, and they're paid just in one lump sum, depending upon what the profits are off your self-assessment tax returns. You can go online to check whether you're eligible to claim. Simple, you put in your UTR number, your national insurance number, that's it, and your postcode, I think, and then it will tell you whether or not you're eligible to claim. It's fairly straightforward, really, whether you can claim or not. It's self-employed as an individual or as a partnership, and you traded in the tax year ending 5th of April 19, so you'll have already completed that tax return, which was due in January, just gone. You then also traded 19 to 20 tax year. You won't have done that tax return yet, but you have to say that you've been trading and you intend to carry on trading from April the 5th this year onwards. Your trading profits must be no more than £50,000 a year on average for the last 3 tax years. So this is a bit of a bone of contention with a lot of self-employed people that are earning over £50,000 a year, because if your earnings are £49,999 a year, you'll get £7,500. If you earn £50,050 a year, you'll get nothing. So it is unfair, in my opinion, but those are the rules at the moment, and whether they'll change them. Now, as we just said, they've extended the furlough scheme for another 3 months, August, September, October. They've not yet said whether they're going to extend this self-employment income support scheme. I think they will do, but again, probably at a reduced amount. They've not said yet definitely whether that's going to happen. So that's the self-employment income support scheme. Now, the grant that you get, the 7,500 maximum, it may be less than that if your earnings are less than the 50,000. So it doesn't need to be repaid, but it is subject to income tax and national insurance. And unlike the furlough scheme, if you're on furlough, you can't work for that employer. Whereas if you're self-employed and get the grant, then you can continue to work as normal. This is taxable. Third area, which I said we touch on, statutory sick pay for SMEs. And SME is classed as anybody with less than 250 employees. So they brought out a coronavirus SSP rebate scheme, which will repay the employers any sick pay that they paid to either current or former employees. Fairly straightforward. It covers up to 2 weeks, starting from the first qualifying day, providing that they can't work due to having symptoms of COVID-19, or they can't work because they're self-isolating because somebody they live with has symptoms, or they're one of the people that have had a letter from the NHS or the doctor telling them that they need to stay home for these 12 weeks. Now, an employer can claim both furlough payments and statutory sick pay payments for the same employee, but not for the same period of time. So business rates, this is where lots of small businesses are benefiting by, one, not paying rates, but also then receiving a lump sum grant. So business rates, first of all. So any businesses that are in retail, hospitality and leisure sectors and nurseries, don't have to pay any business rates for this current tax year that we're in. Tax year starts on the 6th of April. So they don't have to ask not to pay them. They just don't pay the business rates and they won't get chased. In addition to that, businesses in those sectors, retail, hospitality, leisure, will also be entitled possibly to a grant. Now, the grant will either be nothing, 10,000 or 25,000. The criteria for that is that if the business has a property, a business premises, with a rateable value of 15,000 or less, then you should get 10,000. If your business has a property where the rateable value is between 15,000 up to 51,000, then you should get 25,000. Now, most businesses, again, will have already received this money, but if you haven't and you're not too sure, then it is worthwhile just checking. And it's the local authority that pays these grants, not HMRC. So it's wherever you get your business rates bill. In addition to that, small businesses that are not in retail, hospitality or leisure can also qualify for a one-off £10,000 grant from the local authority again. So and a small business will be classed as a business that is entitled to small business rates relief or rural rates relief. So if you don't pay, if you get a business rates bill, then it's reduced. If you get small business rates relief, then you're entitled to apply for the £10,000 grants. Most authorities have paid these out and started paying them out quite a while ago. So if you fall into that category and you haven't had your money, then worthwhile applying for that. Right, so the next bit is about the loans that have been made available. So originally it was the CBILS loan. Now they've introduced the Bounce Back loan. So I'll go through that one first. That's a bit more straightforward and also one that most businesses will qualify for, is the right word. So the Bounce Back scheme, small and medium-sized businesses that can borrow up to 25% of the turnover. Maximum loan is 50,000. Government guarantee the whole of the loan if the loan's not paid back. So the banks don't suffer, they will get repaid, and there's no personal guarantees that any directors have to give. No interest charged in the first year, there's no repayments in the first year, and then after that it's 2.5% a year. So the loans are done over 6 years, nothing to be paid back in the first year, and then you start a 5-year repayments after that. So a very, very straightforward application process for the vast majority of people. I know that some business customers applying to the banks have had some delays on it. Weirdly, the first couple of days that people applied, I think there's some teething problems. But you basically go onto your online bank, fill in about 6 or 7 questions that you just tick the boxes for, and hopefully within 2 days or 3 days, the loan amount will be in your bank. So this is really good for quick money for small businesses that need up to 50,000. You only apply on these 3 questions. You've got to be based in the UK, your business should have been established before the 1st of March, and it's been affected by the coronavirus. So that's the Bounce Back loan. If you only want up to 50,000, that's the loan to go for. It's a much quicker application process and the interest rate is less. The other loan scheme, which was the original one, is the CBILS or Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme. Small and medium-sized businesses for loans up to 5 million. It's other kinds of finance as well, so it could include invoice finance, factoring, asset finance. So it's not just a straightforward loan, it could be other types of finance. And every day there's more and more lenders being given authority to offer the CBILS loans. There's quite a lot of lenders out there now that can offer this as well as the usual banks. So the government guarantees 80% of the finance to the lender. The government pays the interest for the first 12 months and any fees. There's no fees involved. No personal guarantees or security up to £250,000. So the directors don't have to give any personal guarantees. Above that, then there is some security that's sometimes listed. So you can apply for a CBILS loan if your business, again, based in the UK, turnover no more than 45 million, and you need to show that the business would have been viable were it not for the pandemic, and you've also, business has been impacted by another stipulation. You want to borrow 30,000 or more, you need to confirm that the business wasn't in difficulty on the 31st of December last year. But if you're borrowing less than 50,000, you're better off on the bounce back scheme. So those are the 5 sort of areas that I said I would sort of quickly brush over. The main area that we deal with is helping with HMRC. So the main different types of taxes that a business might pay will depend upon the type of business and how it's structured. So a business will be structured either as a sole trader, partnership, limited liability partnership, or a limited company. Now, all those 4 types of businesses quite possibly and normally do pay VAT and pay as you earn, or CIS contributions. Sole traders and partnerships would also pay self-assessment of tax based on the profits, and limited companies could also pay corporation tax, again based on the profits. If we deal with VAT first, so what the government have said is that any VAT that was due for payment between 20th of March, 30th of June can be deferred until the 5th of April 2021. Now, most companies pay the VAT on the 7th of the month. So if your VAT return or the end of your quarter was, let's say, the 31st of March, you get a month to the return. So you do your return before the 30th of April, and then the payment is due on the 7th of the following month, so the 7th of May. So any payments during 20th of March and 30th of June normally be due on the 7th of April, 7th of May, and 7th of June. So we need to ask to defer this payment. It's just given to everybody. Cancel your direct debit if you only pay your VAT by direct debit, otherwise they will claim on the direct debit. So cancel the direct debit and you just don't pay it, then you've got until 5th of April next year in which to pay the payment that would have been due then. So most people pay quarterly VAT, so in effect it's one payment. If you pay monthly VAT, then you've got 3 payments that you'll be making. Any VAT that was due before the 20th of March or after the 30th of June still need to be paid in full and on time. That's VAT, pay as you earn, and national insurance and CIS payments. CIS stands for Construction Industry Scheme. So businesses that are involved in the construction industry sometimes have to deduct tax payment from subcontractors. If you're not in the construction industry, then it's just pay as you earn and national insurance. So there's been no deferral of these payments. So any pay as you earn that is due, has been due, needs to be paid as normal, in full and on time. And I know in the last few days, HMRC have been chasing businesses for payment of pay as you earn. So there's no deferral scheme for pay as you earn or national insurance. Self-assessment tax. So self-assessment is normally due, well, not normally, it's always due twice a year, 31st of January and 31st of July each year, paid by sole traders and partners based on the net profits. Could also be paid by directors of limited companies and high earning employees as well. What the government have said for this is that the payment that's due on the 31st of July coming up can be deferred until January next year. Other than that, your July payment, you don't have to pay it until next year. So it's not cancelled, it's just deferred. Corporation tax. This is a tax that a limited company would pay. So it's always due for payment 9 months and 1 day after the financial year end of a company. And it's based on the profit that the company makes. So for example, company year end, let's say it's the 31st of December. 9 months after that, it's 30th of September. It's due on the 1st of October. So most company year ends are either the 31st of March or 31st of December. It can be any month end for the financial year end, but that's when most of them are. But HMRC have not announced any deferment of corporation tax. Again, stance is that it should be paid in and on time. Now, so we've gone through VAT, pay as you earn, self-assessment tax, corporation tax. They're the main types of tax that most businesses will pay. There are other types of tax. I'm not going to go through them all, but these are some other tax that a business might pay, depending upon the type of business and what they do. There's no schemes, no deferment schemes in place for any of these. So if these are due, then they need to be paid in full and on time. Now, having said that, what HMRC have said is that they have extended the time to pay help that they offer businesses. So they've always had time to pay schemes available for businesses going back, actually started I think 2008, when the crash was in 2008, they brought out the time to pay schemes to help businesses that can't pay any of the taxes. So what they've said, in addition to the deferments that we've mentioned, HMRC have said that they will offer extra help to businesses and the self-employed that can't pay any of the taxes when they fall due. We're going to treat each case individually, so there's no set time to pay plans. There's no strict criteria on what you need to do to qualify and then what you will get if you do qualify. For people that we're speaking with at HMRC, and from the conversations that we're having with HMRC regarding our existing clients that we're helping, we're getting deferments of any tax until July at least. Then the situation will be reviewed, and we're confident that it'll either get extended for a little bit longer, or if not, we will get then a 2-year payment plan. Now, HMRC are not advertising this fact, and they won't advertise it. Obviously, if they make public knowledge that you can have a 2-year payment plan, then everyone will take advantage of it whether you need it or not. So dealing with HMRC is still a lot about who you get to speak to at HMRC, and it shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately it is. And if you speak to the wrong person or you say the wrong thing to somebody, then you can quite easily end up getting no time to pay at all. Then HMRC go down the enforcement and insolvency route, which could include taking control of goods, seizing assets, or even winding up proceedings. So we've got the direct lines for quite a lot of senior debt managers at HMRC that we know personally. We've dealt with them for many years, so we know we can always get longer time to pay plans just by speaking to them. So there is help there, and just need to speak to HMRC and see what we'll do for you. Other HMRC issues that could possibly be ongoing for some businesses: investigations, VAT investigations, pay-as-you-earn investigations, notice of requirement to give security. That's where HMRC will sometimes ask a business for a VAT bond or a pay-as-you-earn bond. They ask for that in 2 instances. One, if you've been in arrears quite a lot for a long period of time, they'll ask you for a bond. Or if a director has liquidated a limited company with HMRC debts and then set up a new limited company, and quite often ask for a bond on the new company. COP 8 and COP 9 investigations, I won't go into them, but if you're under one, you'll know what they are. Field force visits, that's where HMRC field agents will visit companies that are in arrears and possibly start taking control of goods and seizing assets. And then the loan charge, which is individuals that pay themselves via a company as a loan. Now, most of HMRC's offices are currently closed, although they're gradually reopening them. Some staff are working from home, but the majority are not. So if you're under any kind of investigation, any of these, or other type of investigation or compliance issue, and it's ongoing, it's highly likely it will be on hold. So we'll still try and keep in touch with the officer that's dealing with it. And if you can't get hold, just take a note of when you've tried to contact them, but most of them are on hold now until they start getting back to you. So the website that I mentioned at the beginning that the government have shows you what support you can get. This is the website address. If you go on that, you answer 9 questions and it will then tell you what support's available. So where's your business based? How many employees have you got? etc., etc. I'm not going to go through every single question, but they're all just tick box questions. It takes literally 2 minutes to answer all the questions, and when you've answered the questions, it will then inform you what help you can get and how you go on about getting the help. So, brilliant tool to use that if you haven't already done so. These are our contact details. So if you've tried contacting HMRC yourselves, either you can't get through, which is quite normal, or if you're not getting any help from them, or you don't feel you're getting as much help as you might be available, there's our free phone number, our normal landline number. Both those numbers are always answered 24/7 by a person, no queues, no voicemail. We'll have a chat with you initially, free of charge. If you do want us to get engaged going on, then we'll explain what our fees are and when they're payable. So, and that's our website address at the bottom there. So I hope that's been helpful, fairly brief and to the point. And I'm going to pass back now to Chloe, and if anybody's got any questions or if had any questions in, then I'll do my best to answer those. So back to you, Chloe.
Thank you, Phil. That was very informative. Let's have a look at some of the questions we've had come in. The first one is from Talita. I am still paying my business rates by direct debit. What do I need to do to not pay? I'm a physiotherapist with a private practice.
Okay, so it depends on the type of premises. If it's a retail premises, i.e. a shop, then she doesn't have to pay those rates this year at all. And it's not a deferment, it's just you don't have to pay them. There'll be no business rates charged. If she operates from premises that isn't retail, or so example, she might be on a business park that's units, or she might be in an office type setup, then they will still be payable. Although having said that, if she's a small business, then she should qualify for small business rates relief. So it all depends upon the size of the premises. So the best thing to do is probably to get in touch with the local authority, and it may be that she's been paying business rates for the past few years when in fact she's entitled to small business rates relief. So I think it's where the rateable value is less than 12,000 a year, there's no business rate, and then it's a sliding scale of what relief you get. So she contacts the local authority, they'll be able to tell her where what she can get, and she may be entitled to a £10,000 grant as well if she gets small business rates relief. So yeah, the local authority is the people to speak to for that.
Okay, the next one is from Margaret. Can a startup business who's in their first year of trading with no turnover get accepted for BBL or CBIL? She also put that they're self-financed and loss-making.
Okay, right. So the loss making is based on turnover. So the loss making isn't an issue, and the answer is yes. She would pay bills, but the bounce back loan, it's if you tell the bank what your projected turnover is going to be. So you tell them, and then you can get a loan of 25% of the turnover or the projected turnover. So yes, definitely go online. It's all done online with the bounce back loan. So whoever she banks with currently, there are some banks that will take applications if you don't bank with them, and if you get rejected by your own bank or one bank, you can still apply to other banks. I think HSBC, one of the few that are accepting applications from if you don't bank with them. But if your first port of call is your own bank, and just do it online, log on to your own banking, and there'll be some section on there for bounce back. Yes, definitely entitled.
The next one is from Mahmood. I owe tax office half of my tax from last year, and I couldn't pay them in January this year because business was not doing well. What will happen when they reopen and
Okay.
I owe them?
Yeah. So the January payments aren't part of the deferment scheme. So the deferments for personal tax self-assessment is only the payment that's coming due on the 31st of July. So I would imagine that he'll have that due as well. That can be deferred till next year, but with last January's payment, then it falls under the time to pay help. So, and then they will help, the length of time that he'll get to pay it back will depend upon his current situation and what answers he gives to the questions. But yeah, you'll definitely be able to get some time to pay on that.
Okay, the next one is from Hannah. How long does it take to get the business rate relief grants confirmed? Do you recommend getting in touch with HMRC if you haven't heard anything?
Well, the business rates relief is processed by the local authority. So whatever local council they send business rates bill out, it's them that process them. So yeah, get in touch with the business rates department at your local authority. They should have been paid out by now. So if they haven't, then they're either not, they don't qualify for it, or the council aren't aware that they've applied for it. So local authorities are the people to contact for either the small business grant or any business rate relief.
Fantastic. There's no other questions currently, so if anybody has any other questions, then you can use them in the Q&A function. I have included the link that Phil spoke about in the comment section. So if you need to look for the business coronavirus support finder, that is now in the comments as well. Do you have any comments you'd like to add at all, Phil?
No, if anybody's struggling, then you've got our contact details. We're quite happily help people wherever we can. So yeah, just get in touch and apply for whatever, if you think you might not be eligible for it, then it's always worth applying. And you may not be eligible, but then you also might be. So.
And I have also added Phil's LinkedIn in there as well. So if you would like to connect with him after the webinar, then you can do. We've had one last question come in.
Okay.
Do I need to pay my employee the 80%, the 20% on top of the 80%?
No, it's a straight answer to that. Some companies are and some companies aren't, but it's not a requirement to do that. The 80% is sufficient. So that's just a choice of the company.
Phil, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this webinar. I'm sure our audience will agree that was a great session for all entrepreneurs out there. If there is anything you'd like to catch up on from today's session, then we'll be sending out a replay of the webinar coming shortly. Our next webinar in the Lockdown Learning for Business series takes place on Tuesday, the 26th of May, with James Oakley, as he discusses a 7-step guide to growing the digital side of your business whilst thriving and surviving in lockdown. If you haven't already, you can register for this webinar at www.freshbusinessthinking.haysummit.com, or you can click on the link in the comments. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you again, Phil. Goodbye, everyone.